Hey, Big Reds, we're on to part 3 of this series here. So, gonna dive right into it here. You may need to stop this to write this down. That's okay. Pause it if you need to. So, first of all, we need to see, are these two triangles congruent? And I'm going to say yes, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Well, if you look at each triangle, you see they have two angles and a side. But the side is not between the two angles, so we have angle, angle, side. So it's AAS. Then we want to write a triangle congruent statement. So I'm going to start, I can start any order. I'm going to start with B. So I'm going to say triangle BAC is congruent to triangle. Notice B has 2 marks, F has 2 marks. So I'm going to start with F here. A has 1 mark, E has 1 mark. So E over here and D is right here. So this would be how you do this type of problem. All right, going to this one. It tells us on the side that BC is congruent to CD, so I'm going to mark that. BC is congruent to CD. Also, by the reflexive property, AC is congruent to itself, since both triangles share that side. Well, I'm going to tell you these two triangles are congruent. Yes is the answer. And if I look at one triangle at a time, I can see that we have 2 sides and 1 angle. And the angle is between the 2 sides, right? So it's side, angle, side. We have side, angle, side over here as well. So now I want to write a triangle congruent statement. So I'd write triangle, let's say ABC is congruent to triangle. Well, here's where it gets tricky. AB has no marks, right? So I'm going to start here with AD. AD also has no marks. And you see how BC right here has 1 mark? DC has 1 mark, so I'm going to put a C here. So just make sure the sides with the same markings are in the same position. That's very important. All right. Let's go on to another one. Let's try this one right here. It says, I'm going to read the stuff on the side that's important. It says AB is congruent to AD. So AB is congruent to AD. I already put marks there. It says C is the midpoint of BD. What does that mean? Well, if C is the midpoint, I know that BC is congruent to CD, right? And then I also know AC is congruent to itself by the reflexive property, since both triangles share that side. So yes, with all that stuff, yes, the triangles are congruent. It is by side, side, side. See, you're looking at one triangle. There are 3 sides congruent to 3 sides of another one. So it is SSS. And we want to write a triangle congruent statement. So I'm going to start with B this time. I'm going to say BCA is congruent to triangle. Now if I start with B, I'm going to start with D over here. DC has the same marks as BC, so first 2 spots here, first 2 spots here. I'm going to end with an A. So that's how you do that one. All right, going on to this one right here. So we have 2 right triangles. Notice they're right triangles. These are right angles. And these are going to be congruent, yes, and I'll tell you why in a minute. They share this side by the reflexive property. BD is congruent to itself. Now remember I told you with right triangles, if the right angles both point, they always point to the hypotenuse, right? If the hypotenuse is congruent and one of the legs are congruent in a right triangle, this is HL for hypotenuse leg. Then I write a triangle congruent statement, which would be ABD is congruent to triangle. Start with A, which is a right angle, so I'm going to start with C here. B, D. Very important. It doesn't matter how you start over here. It just matters that these points over here match up with these points over here. Okay. Now that is the last of the regular geometry part, but honors, you get an extra video after this. Regular geometry, good luck on your test. Thumbs up.